Hi, welcome to Glow's Kindred Kitchen, and I'm Glow. Today we're going to be making bread, and it's not like a normal loaf of bread like everybody's used to. This is actually a dough that we're going to make today that we'll put in the refrigerator, and then tomorrow we'll be able to make either a loaf of bread with it, rolls, pizza crust, whatever you like. So let's get started. Before you guys came today, I went ahead and put in 5 cups of flour into this bowl. And this bowl is what we're going to use to put our dough in the refrigerator as well. And to that, this will be our 6th cup of flour, all-purpose flour. And then I'm going to finish measuring off this last half a cup of flour. So there's a total of 6.5 cups. And the reason I have this jar out is I just wanted to share with you. I had just emptied my flour container over there, so I'm going to be washing that. But I always keep flour in a canning jar as well in my cupboard that I use on a routine basis, like if I'm going to be doing gravies or anything on the stove. I find it just easier to use than a big thing of flour. So there's a half a cup, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in. So now we have 6.5 cups of all-purpose flour. And to that we're going to add 1.5 tablespoons of salt, and I went ahead and I measured it out. According to the recipe, they say do not use kosher salt, just use regular table salt. And I have the sea salt. This is what I use for my table, so this is what I'm using in here. So you just put that right in with the flour, and then it calls for 2 packets of yeast. And I am a fan of Red Star yeast, and this is the platinum one. And the platinum Red Star yeast, you always add it to your flour mixture, and then you put in your moisture. Just open this last one.
And this is called, Miss Glow, refrigerator bread?
Actually, it's called a 5-minute per day master boulé.
Oh, okay.
So and this will keep in the refrigerator for at least a week. And you just take off what you want to use each day and you bake it in the oven. And I'll be baking mine, if it's a bread, on a pizza stone, and I would use that same stone if I was going to do a pizza. And you can also grill that pizza dough on the grill as well. So now what I'm doing is I'm just mixing this up really well before we add our water. I think that's probably good enough. So I'm going to go ahead and put that over there. Now I went ahead and I had heated up 3 cups of water in my microwave. And I always take the temperature of it, and it says on the directions to do it between 120 and 130 degrees, and this one's at 124 degrees, so we should be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and take a wooden spoon to help me stir this together. I'm just going to make myself a little well in the center, and I'm going to pour some of it in, and I'm just going to start stirring around. And this dough will be sticky. A lot of the bread doughs, when you're making them, you have to knead it. And I do have a bread maker that I use quite often, and I also have my KitchenAid that has a dough hook on it. But I started thinking about this when I was trying to select a recipe for everybody to make, and I'm not sure if everybody's ever made a loaf of bread. So I thought this one would be very easy because you don't have to knead the bread or anything. So I'm just incorporating a little bit more of the water into it. This is actually one of the easiest recipes that I know of. I do have a roll recipe as well that's you put into the refrigerator, and that one has sugar in it, but this one does not. And the container that you select, you want to make sure you pick a bowl or container that has a lid that goes on it very securely in the refrigerator. This is just an old Tupperware bowl I've had for years, and it's great. I use it for all kinds of stuff. But you could even use like a gallon-sized plastic ice cream container that has the snap-on lid. That would work. Or a lot of times at the bakeries and the grocery stores and stuff, they have containers that they love to give away other than throw them out. You could just ask them for one. And they all have lids on them. That's the last of the water. And see at the end how it gets sticky? But that's what you want. When you put this in the refrigerator, actually the slow fermentation, a lot of bakers really like that in their doughs. Low and slow. That's what they always say. So I'm just going to finish stirring this up because we just don't want any clumps of flour in there. I see one right there. This probably is the longest part of the whole thing, is just stirring this up to make sure that it's mixed together well. And I find that a wooden spoon really works well with this. You'll find through a lot of my videos, I tend to go towards the wooden spoons for a lot of things. For one thing, they're very sturdy, and this is a thick dough. So you need something that's strong. But can you see how already there's kind of like that elasticity to the dough as I'm pulling up? It'll even become more of it tomorrow. So now I'm just going to try and get this dough to kind of nestle down in here. I'm going to get a spoon out. And what I'm going to do is just scrape this dough off of here. Don't want to waste any if we can help it. And now what the directions tell us to do is to put the lid for the bowl on top of it, but don't snap it down in place. It's to just kind of keep it so that it's like secure away from the elements and so that the warmth of the dough stays in it. And we're going to keep this out of the refrigerator for 2.5 hours for it to start to rise and start its process. And then after the 2.5 hours, you just put it right in the refrigerator. And then tomorrow night when I come home, I'm just going to take off a small portion of it and let that rise on the counter for about 40 minutes. And then I'll be putting it in the oven to bake it. So you can tell it's very easy. So I'm going to go ahead and set this stuff right down here. And I've got my lid. And my microwave is already warm because I had warmed up my water in it. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in my microwave for 2.5 hours. Just let it set in there like an oven. And then I'll be putting it in the refrigerator. So anyway, I'll see you later. Bye. Hi, welcome back to Glow's Kindred Kitchen, and I'm Glow. Today is the second day for our dough to be in the refrigerator. Yesterday, if you recall, I went ahead and I mixed up the flour and the salt and the water and yeast. And now today, I removed this from my refrigerator when I returned home from work, and this will be the first time I've taken the lid off. So now we can see what this looks like in here. This has been rising since yesterday. When I first put this together, I put it in my microwave, which was warm, to rise for 2.5 hours. Then I put it in the refrigerator. And now today I'm going to take off a portion of this, and we're going to make a little loaf out of it to bake in our oven. So the first thing you want to do is to take some flour and put it in your hand. And I use this to hold flour. I just find it's easier when I'm just doing small things like this. And the directions say to just sprinkle it over a corner of where you're going to do it, because this dough will be sticky. So we'll see how this works. So I'm going to go ahead and pull off the portion that I want. And we'll decide how big of a loaf we want. Let's do a little bit bigger. So I think that'll be good. But see how that sticks to your hands? And what I did prior to you guys coming today is I removed my ring, because this dough will stick to your ring and it's hard to clean your ring and your hands and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and just put the lid back on this. I'm going to move it out of the way. So I went ahead and I floured my wooden board here. This is a chopping board I've had since we've been married. One of my brothers, my brother Charlie, made this for us for one of our wedding gifts. He did it in shop class in school. So now the main thing you want to do is you're going to take this dough, and see how it's sticking to my fingers? You don't really want that. So the flour will help.
Sticky fingers, Miss Glow.
Yeah, that's about right. But this dough, you really don't have to handle a lot. It's very forgiving. And you just want to kind of have a smooth loaf. You can make it any shape you want. I'm just going to kind of do it like this. And let me get this off my hands here. There, that's good enough. And then, see how that sticks? It's just, I'm going to take a piece of parchment paper. If you don't have parchment paper, it's something really nice to have on hand for stuff like this. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this, let me move this forward here like that for a moment. I'm just going to use this as a weight for right now. And we're going to take this loaf, and we're going to put it on the parchment paper. And it's going to rise. I'm going to go ahead and put it right back on the chopping board though, because you want it to be on a surface that's not cold, and the granite is cold. And we're going to let this rise here for 45 minutes. Let's see here. That'll work. So this is going to rise for 45 minutes. And I'll be back, and then it won't rise a lot though, because it's already risen a lot since yesterday. But in the meantime, I'm going to be preheating my oven, and I'm going to use this cookie pan, or it's like a half sheet pan. You use it for bars, whatever you're making, or brownies. I'm going to put water in the bottom of this and fill it up about halfway. And I'm going to put that on the bottom rack of my oven. And it'll work as a steaming for when this is baking. And then I'm going to put this on my stone to bake at the when we put it in the oven. So I'm going to be preheating this as well. So right now I'm going to be preheating my oven to 450 degrees. This is going to rise for 45 minutes, and I'll see you back in about 45 minutes. Bye. Hi, welcome back. Well, it's been 45 minutes that our dough here has been rising, and as you can tell, like I said in the beginning, it won't rise a lot, but it's becoming more to room temperature instead of being in the refrigerator. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this flour and sprinkle it on the top and just kind of nicely, lightly spread this over it. And actually, after we had stopped videoing the first segment, what I did is I lifted this dough up and I put some extra flour underneath so it would prevent it from sticking. It just makes it easier for when we remove it from the oven. So now what I'm going to do is this knife here I'm going to use to put some slashes, and I'm just trying to get some of the flour to adhere to it, which is difficult to do. But I'm going to put some slashes here in the dough. And that is so that the steam and stuff can be released and the dough will do better in the oven as it's baking. There we go. And you can do any kind of design you want on it. I just decided to do the 3. So let me just rub my hands off here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the stone from the oven and we'll put it on there. So let me get that. And it is hot. So make sure you always use pot holders. I'll put it down here. Close that up. And what we're going to do is I'm going to take the parchment paper, kind of fold it underneath on both sides. And you're just going to use this to help lift it over to this. And something else that kind of is nice to have too, if you're going to be baking a lot of bread or pizzas in your home, is to get one of these. And it's like a pizza scoop type thing, spatula, and that works real well too. And we'll probably use that towards the end. So anyway, let's go ahead and put it in the oven. And in the oven, I have that pan at the bottom with water in it, and that's steaming away. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in now. There we go. Just turn it over a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and set our timer for 25 minutes. We'll see you back in 25 minutes. Bye. Hi, welcome back. Our timer is just now going off, so let's check and see how it's going. So what I check is to hear if it's hollow. And it does sound hollow. When you tap on it, if it's hollow, you know it's done. So I'm going to go ahead and bring it back over here. And set it down. I'm going to close my oven door. We'll see how it looks. And parchment paper will brown, you know, like this a little in the oven, and that's fine. You don't need to worry about that. But can you hear that? That's the hollow sound?
Yep.
And let's take a look underneath. Usually with parchment paper, with parchment paper, it won't brown quite as much as if you removed it off the parchment paper. And actually, let me see. I think I'm going to take the parchment paper off and put it back in just to brown the bottom just a little bit more, but not much. I'm going to go ahead and do that. We'll just set it right on here. So I'm going to put it back in, but just for a few minutes to brown the bottom, and it'll be all done. another trick to bread is you can actually put cornmeal on it, and that will keep it from sticking as well as this. So anyway, we'll be back in just a couple minutes and we can see the very end. Bye. Welcome back. Our timer's going off on our stove. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my oven off. And we'll pull our bread out. Oh, it smells delicious. Let me close the oven up. So this is our finished product. This is a bread that you don't have to knead at all. You just mix it up, put it in the refrigerator overnight, and then you'll have bread that you can bake during the week. I bet I'll have 3 loaves easily out of this batch that I made yesterday. And anyway, I had removed it from the parchment paper to put it back down to brown a little, and it did brown a little. I'll kind of show you on the bottom there. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back down. We're going to have this for dinner tonight, along with some black bean soup that I had made. So, and I'll show you that recipe in another video that we make. But anyway, I'm so glad you were able to watch this with us today. And if you like this, please like and subscribe to our channel. We would really appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Bye.